Hello, you're welcome to Uncommand Online Academy, and you are welcome back to our discussion on family health. In our last lesson, we talked about pathogens. Today, we are going to have more discussion on pathogens and look at kinds of pathogenic diseases. We've talked about the meaning of health, the meaning of diseases, and the types of diseases. So let's go straight to what we have today. In our last lesson, we talked about the pathogens. We defined pathogens as disease causing microbes or microorganisms. Microorganisms are organisms that you can see only with your microscope. You can't see them with your naked eye. And I said that we have four types of microbes or microorganisms that cause diseases, and they are virus, bacteria, fungi, and protozoa. And we talked about virus as a unicellular microorganism that survive only when it is living inside another organism, and it exists as a non-living thing when it is outside a living thing. And we talked about diseases that are caused by virus, and we said that any disease that is caused by a virus is called a viral disease. So COVID-19, which is one of the diseases that are caused by virus, is a viral disease. Then we also talked about bacteria as a unicellular organism that is free living, which means that whether it is living inside another organism or not, it always exists as a living thing. And we said that any disease that is caused by a bacteria is called a bacterial disease, and we gave examples of bacterial diseases. Now today we are going to look at fungi. Fungi is another pathogen, and fungi, this one is a multicellular plant-like microorganism. Fungi looks like plants, but they are not plants because they cannot carry out photosynthesis. I believe some I believe you'd have seen a mushroom. I believe you know, or you've seen it, maybe a picture or in real life. A mushroom is one of the fungi that we have. So the fungi, they look like plants, but they are not actually plants. Plants, they carry out photosynthesis, that is, they manufacture their own food, but fungi, they cannot manufacture their own food. So that is one of the major differences between plant and virus. And the virus, they are actually smaller most of the time compared to uh, fungi are smaller compared to plants, but they are multicellular or multicellular. Multicellular means that their body is made up of many cells that come together. Just like human beings, we are composed of many cells that come together. Some of them will start working as eyes. Some cells will perform a specific function, maybe to form your different organs and different parts of your body. In fungi, we have something like that. You have multi cells in fungi, and any disease that is caused by a fungi is called fungal disease. And examples of fungal diseases are candidiasis. Candidiasis affects the private parts or it affects the private parts or the urinary tract. And ringworm which is very common. Vaginitis is also another disease that affects the private parts of a female reproductive organ. Then we have the last pathogen here, which we call protozoa. Protozoa. A protozoa is a unicellular microorganism. It is only fungi that is multicellular or multicellular. Protozoa is unicellular and it looks like an animal. It has animal-like feature. The difference between fungi and protozoa is that fungi looks like plant, while protozoa looks like animal. It has animal-like feature. And it is unicellular, protozoa, while fungi is multicellular. Now, protozoa, any disease that is caused by protozoa is called protozoal disease. And the examples of protozoa diseases are dysentery. Dysentery is caused by Amoeba histolytica. I believe you'd have heard about amoeba. It is caused by this Amoeba histolytica, and amoeba is a protozoan. It is one of the protozoa. So because it is caused by a protozoan, it is a protozoa disease. So anytime you are having dysentery and you go to a medical lab to do tests, they will look for the presence of Amoeba histolytica in your intestine. If they see it, then they will suspect that that is the cause of it, and then they find a way to remove this organism from your body. Then malaria is caused by protozoan. The pathogen, the microorganism causing malaria is a protozoan. So malaria is therefore a protozoal disease. Then there's another disease we call babesiosis. It is also a protozoal disease, and another one we call candidiasis is also a protozoal disease. Now we look at disease vectors. Disease vectors are organisms that carry the pathogens. We've talked about pathogens. There are organisms that help to move them from one place to another. If you take, for instance, a virus, they can move very small if they're actually moving, or if they can move. But when they are being carried by another organism, the organism, maybe if it is an organism that can fly from one place to another place and help to transfer the pathogen to maybe a human being. So that organism that carries pathogen, they are called vectors. A lot of organisms carry pathogens, and they help to move or transfer diseases or pathogens to our body that will now cause diseases to us. Like mosquito that we know that mosquito causes malaria. It is not that the mosquito itself is the disease causing agent. No, mosquito does not cause malaria directly, or there's nothing that the mosquito is producing that causes malaria. Instead, the mosquito carries a microorganism, and it is that microorganism the pathogen that the mosquito carries. It will transmit it to our body, and then the pathogen inside our body now starts causing us problem. But mosquito itself does not cause malaria. It is that pathogen that it carries that it will put inside our body, and that pathogen will now lead to problem in our body. Then we have housefly. Housefly also has its own pathogen, and the pathogen it carries causes cholera. Then we have pathogens in dog. Dog also carry pathogen, and the pathogen that dogs carry, they are called rabies. They cause rabies. The pathogen they cause rabies. Then fly also has its own pathogen, and the pathogen that fly carries causes what we call trypanosomiasis. Trypanosomiasis. This trypanosomiasis is what we call sleeping sickness, and it is caused by an organism called trypanosoma. Let me write it. Trypanosome is the microorganism, the pathogen that this fly carries, and the trypanosome causes the trypanosomiasis, which is what we call sleeping sickness. So these are vectors. Vectors, I said, are organisms that carry pathogens. Now, the major difference between pathogens and vector is that pathogens, they are not actually microorganisms, or the vectors are not microorganisms, but pathogens are actually microorganisms. All vectors, you can easily see them, like fly, dog, housefly, and others. They are organisms you can always see with your naked eye, but the organism that they carry that actually cause the disease, which are the pathogens, you cannot see the pathogens with your naked eye. Then, how do we prevent diseases? You prevent disease by taking proper hygiene. You also prevent diseases by drinking clean water, through immunization. Some diseases you try to avoid them by giving yourself immunity against them. We've talked about immunity in our other lessons. Now, we also prevent disease by preventing contact with the blood of others. Anything that will lead to blood contamination, your blood mixing with the blood of another person, you try to prevent that, because most organisms are carried in the blood. Now, avoid polluted environment. Polluted environments are always contaminated with diseases. So, if you avoid polluted environment, you're also avoiding diseases.